Hi, this video is of me making biscuits, but something I forgot to mention was to make sure that you use self-rising flour, or you could use plain flour actually, and put in the baking powder and the salt, but I do not do that. I just use self-rising because it is easier than having to mix the other together. So I want to come on and tell you that since I did not mention that I was using self-rising. So you enjoy the video, okay? Good morning, y'all, and welcome back to my channel. Today I had a request to make biscuits, so I'm going to do them the way that I do them. There are different ways to do them. Some people just use flour and buttermilk, and some people do the flour and the shortening. Over the years, I've just used oil. That's all I've used. It's just regular cooking oil. It can be, canola, vegetable, sunflower oil, whatever. But that's what I use. I never really measured making my biscuits, but I had my children ask me, how do you do it? How do you do it? So I started one day. I sat down and thought, well, let me figure this out while I was doing it. And a good rule of thumb just to start, because actually different flours measure differently, I have come to realize. And then especially if you don't sit there and put them in the sifter and sift them out every time. So the good rule of thumb that I came up with to start with, and then you have to go from there to see how your dough looks, is I start with however much flour I'm using. Like today I'm going to use 2 cups. Then use half of that in your milk. So that would be 1 cup of milk. Then use half of that in your oil. So that would be, 2 cups, 1 cup. That would be a half a cup of your oil. My husband, about the first week we were married, he brought home this, or not married, but the first week we were dating, he brought home this little, it was a little oven with a little stove top on top of it. It had 2 burners, and you could fit about a 9 by 13 pan inside of there. That was about all you could get in there. And I wish we had brought it home from Germany with us, but we didn't. And so I made him biscuits. And from that day on, that was the only kind he wanted. He wanted homemade. He didn't want Bisquick and he didn't want canned. So let's get started. Okay, so on your flour, the brand really doesn't matter. I prefer White Lily or Martha White, but sometimes you don't have the money to buy those. Sometimes they may not have them in the store. If you live I live in Missouri, and it's hard to find White Lily flour there. Martha White flour is easy to find. If you do find the White Lily, you're going to be paying quite a bit of money for it. Just a moment, please. So it really doesn't matter, I don't think, I have to go out and get a certain brand of flour, because you do not. So I'm going to turn you down. So right here I have, so you can see, let me move this over a little. I have a cup of flour. So I'm going to use 2 of them. And you don't have to be precise, just as long as it's close. Into that, I'm going to just take this measuring cup again. I used 2 of those, so I'm going to use 1 of my milk. Next, I'm going to use a half of this. Since I used the whole one, I'm going to use half of that in my oil. Oh, I can't say that right, my oil. And so I'm going to use half of that. And we will start with that and see if we need to readjust or not. I'm going to go ahead and put some flour down on, I think it's just a chopping board thing. You can use parchment paper, wax paper. I like to do this because it makes cleanup easier. Now at home I do have a granite slab that I do it on, and the cleanup on that is not bad. But and then I have one of those scraper things that I can scrape it up with, so it's real easy to clean up. Just make sure whatever surface that you roll your biscuits out on, that surface is clean. It's a good idea if you have like a granite thing to maybe go over it with a little bit of vinegar. That will help too. I just use regular old disinfectant spray, but I know, older bands what I use. A lot of people don't want to do that because of the chemicals, so use vinegar. That will do it good too. Okay. You do not want to stir this a lot. You just mainly want to get it incorporated. And then once it's incorporated, stop stirring. The more you stir it, the harder your biscuits will be. Okay, that's looking good to me. Can you see about the consistency? It's just a little bit sticky. It basically will look just about as wet as canned biscuits would if you used to take and clump them all together. Maybe just a tad wetter. Maybe just a tad wetter. Then you're just going to bring it together and pat it out. Now I don't do this, but some people like to roll it over a little, then roll it over a little, then roll it over a little, and then just slightly pat it out to make little layers. That's just not something I've ever done. I know I told you before, I have 5 children. In the mornings, I was in a hurry. I didn't have, that much time to be sitting there and cooking breakfast. And actually, I made usually just cat head biscuits. And, maybe on the weekends, I would do something to make it prettier. But for the most part, and most weekends they ate cereal. But for the most part, you do it like this. Then take something, and you can take anything you have. At home, I have an old tomato sauce can that I've used a long time. I did have to replace it at one point. I lost it in a move, but a friend of mine one day, we were talking on Facebook about, biscuits and making them, and I can't remember which one of us had posted a picture, but we talked about, one of us had said, oh, yours looks about the same size as mine. And we both, in the conversation, came up, we both used empty tomato sauce cans, the small ones. And I said, well, that's what my mother and grandmother always used. And she said that was what hers had used also. So just, it doesn't matter. You can take a glass or whatever. Now, as far as what I'm going to put them on, I'm going to use a stone. You can use whatever you have. I had bought a stone after my girls got married and were buying Pampered Chef. And I come to realize that I really did like that stone, especially if you want your bottoms very light on the bottom. It cooks them really, really well. A cast iron skillet would work good. Just make sure you grease it real good. A cookie sheet, if you have anything that's going to stick, make sure you grease it or spray it with cooking spray. Okay, so I'm going to go down, come back up, take it. And if you notice, I didn't put any flour on the top. Some people do that. I don't like that. And you want it to roll it out. I forgot to mention that. If you see here about how thick mine is, you want them about half of the thickness you want. And go as close as you can so you can get the most out of this. Go down, up. Do it again next to it. Go down and up. That one came out, so I'm going to go ahead. Now that one seemed to be a little bit thicker. but I'll show you tricks to something in a moment. Down and up. Okay. This side I got just a little bit thicker, but that's okay. If you have them, they seem kind of thick in the middle. What I like to do, and let me move this over here so you can see, I like to just take a couple of fingers and press them down a little. Just press them down a little bit in the middle. Those two there look fine. Then gather this back up and don't spend a lot of time messing with this. Just gather it all up. And I just kind of use my thumb, if you can see here, to push on it some. Because I don't want to bring that flour back over. Some people will, I don't. I'm going to get that back together. Then do it again. Looks like I'm going to get about 2 out of this one. Now when I use a stone, I don't put any grease or anything on it. You may if you want them a little greasier. You know, some people like theirs floating in grease, but I don't. Okay. And this last one, I'm just kind of smush it together. See if I can get one out there. Theirs won't be as pretty as the other ones, but that's okay. Just kind of pat around, move it around, and put it in there. Now, something I was told a long time ago, when I was young, by this older woman I went to church with. She told me, her name is Miss Francis, she said to place your biscuits next to each other. If you have a circle one, like at home, when I made it just for me and my husband, I had a small stone, but then I have a circular one, and I do them in the circle when I need to make more. And she said, make sure they are touching, because that will give you fluffier biscuits. She told me some people will spread them apart, and she said, but that will make the edges, you know, crusty. And if you like that, then that's fine. But if you want them fluffier, then make sure that they're touching each other. Okay, I cook mine in a 400, and let me turn you up here. I cook mine in a 425 degree oven, and I usually start with about 13 minutes. Now, I never did get my tops real brown because my husband didn't like it. He liked them light. So the longer you go, the browner your tops will be. Or you can cheat. Once you know your biscuits are done, you can take your biscuits out, put them under the broiler part of your oven, and maybe for 30 seconds to a minute. You have to really watch, though. You have to leave that oven door open and watch to see that they get to the brownish you desire. So I'm going to put these in the oven, and I will be back with you later. Okay, I'm back. I'm going to make this 2 videos in one. I'll be posting them separate, the gravy and the biscuits separate, but I've cooked them together. And we have the biscuits are done and the gravy is done. And let me show you. I've just taken my biscuits out of the oven. What I like to do, let me bring you here so you can see them a little bit better. Okay, do you see them? I like to take the butter and just rub it over the tops. And like I said, you can make yours browner on the top. Just rub this butter over it, and that will soften the tops up. Okay, let me get a plate and I'll be right back. get a biscuit here. Let's get one here. My husband always wanted the middle biscuits because why? They were the fluffiest. So we'll open that biscuit up and I'll show you the inside of it. Okay, so can you see the inside there? You see how it's kind of flaking? And that's what you want to see. You want to see it being flaky. Now let me find something to scoop the gravy up with. I'll put some gravy on there. Okay, I'll take a bite, test it for you. It's a little hot still. There are some here that could taste it, but they're actually a little shy, so they don't want to get on here and do it. That is good. That's good. Okay, if you liked the video today, give me a thumbs up. Comment below. Please share it with other people on your other social media outlets like Facebook and Instagram. And when you share it, maybe make it public to where other people can share it. And if you have not subscribed, hit the subscribe button. Then also, if you want to, hit the little bell thing you'll see there, and that will notify you anytime I post a video. Y'all have a good rest of your day, and remember to always season your cooking with love. Bye-bye.